You know him, you love him, you want some more of him. The voiceover doctor, a real smooth talker. The voiceover doctor show.
Without any further ado, let me introduce the panel to you. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Laura Post. Mr. Kaiji Tang. Mr. Lucien Dodge. The lovable Robbie Rist. And the incorrigible and always late, Quinton Flynn. My own moniker, the most important man in show business, Quinton Flynn.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know I love you, Q.
I know you do.
What I would like to do first is let's get to know the panel a little bit. I'd like each one of you, if you wouldn't mind, to just kind of tell everybody who you are, what you've been doing in the world of anime, and any projects that you can share with us. Okay, so Laura, why don't you go first? Ladies first, as they say. Why? Because I'm old, and that's how it's going to be.
All right, so I'm Laura Post. I got my start in anime around 2007, I think, on a show called Magical Girl Lyrical Nanoha A's, the biggest mouthful of a title possible. And I've done a couple other shows. I've been on Squid Girl. I love these names. Squid Girl, I play Cindy, the sexy scientist. I'm in a movie called Red Line, which is about racing, which is really cool animation. I play Bos Bos.
Like racing, like cars?
Car racing,
Car racing?
yeah.
Okay, all right.
And
Well, maybe there's like running.
and then I'm in a show called Lagrange as the military chick Eri Watabe, and I'm in Sword Art Online, which is on Toonami right now, as Rosalia.
Laura Post. Kaiji, take it over.
How's it going? My name is Kaiji Tang. I'm in shows like also Sword Art Online. I'm in Nora Rise of the Yokai Clan. I'm in Kite Liberator, Monster, Tweenie Witches. We're also
Tweenie Witches?
You don't ask.
Yeah. Tweenie Witches, and yes, we're both in Tweenie.
Yeah, and we were also.
Sounds like a prom date.
Yes.
Coming out with the Tweenie Witches.
An illegal prom date. Oh, and Excel Worlds, and yeah, a bunch of shows. Lucien Dodge.
Lucien.
All right. Well, I am Lucien Dodge, and my career in anime goes back to I originally hailed from New York, and the first job I ever got when I moved to New York City was on Pokemon, and I've done a few different characters on that show since that time. And lately, I'm also in Sword Art Online. I'm in Excel World. I'm in Tiger and Bunny. I'm in K. And some Fade Zero.
Remember the
my publicist.
When you say you're in Tiger and Bunny, is that some form of bestiality?
Not, there are people maybe that would be but not for me. It's not my cup of
It's
tea.
a big show with the furries.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
This is over.
Hey, we're gonna go there. That's what this is all
They need
about.
representation too.
Yeah. Let's start there. Go down.
Let's talk about furries.
I
think that's the. I mean, there's something I'm working on currently, but I can't talk about.
Can't
that.
talk
Yeah,
about
unfortunately.
So, Mr. Robbie Rist, Robbie.
Let's see. I got my first anime gig in 2003. I think I was in Initial D, which is a
Sorry, that's one of my
racing.
favorites.
It's a great show.
And then I threw that because I knew the company. I read on Naruto, which is on Cartoon Network, and I've been playing Choji on that for, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years, something crazy like that. And as far as anime goes, that's pretty much all I have really going. I'm on a Disney Junior show called Doc McStuffins, and I'm in Sharknado.
Yeah.
And may I point out in Doc McStuffins, he plays the Blue Dragon.
Are you? How does Paul McCartney have anything to do with it?
The thing is, I've got a very tiny little daughter. She's young. She's a fan. And I love the promotion. Big fan of the music, big fan.
Which takes us right over to Mr. Quinton Flynn. Q, if you could tell us a little
yes.
about...
Thank you. There's not enough time.
I'm sure there is.
So I'll just break it down. Brevity is the roots of clarity. I, like Robbie, started on Initial D, where I played Shingo Shoji. I can't even pronounce his last name because I'm not Japanese. Naruto, I played Uruka Sensei. I probably taught him a thing or two in class. There's a show called Zatch Bell that not a lot of people saw. It was a lot of fun. I played Dr. Riddles, who knew everything. And Victor Ream, a man in the shape of a giant V. He was
You play the man in the shape of a giant
V. That's my favorite. I know what I have on my mind.
Which is very true to your own character as well.
That is true.
Yeah.
But in this, when they have to translate, things get kind of peculiar.
Yeah.
Well, there were watermelons juggling and whatnot, so they decided to do a song called Very Melon. So he was obsessed with it, and his song was "Touch My Heart, Very Melon, yeah."
Really?
The fans seemed to dig it. Big, it was hot on iTunes for a while. And what other than that, I played Carl / the Phantom in Blood Plus, which is kind of the dark, brooding, vampiristic noir thing.
Okay.
What am I leaving out? I think that's it.
Okay.
Something may come to me later.
Well, that's very interesting. Robbie, could you just kind of like what Q was doing? Can you give us a couple of the characters that you do so we can?
Oh, good Lord! I think in both of them, it's the odd sort of job where they don't really have me do a voice or anything.
You're just kind of the young surfer guy.
I'm just kind of that guy, yeah. Which for me is the best job you can possibly get.
Is that?
I mean,
Like Quinton, you can tell he puts a lot of work into putting those characters together.
Oh, yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I have no time for that.
I mean, they've got to pay you more for that. Right?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the anime pay scale shortly.
So right now, I've gotten to hear you in 4 roles.
Lucien, what about you? Do you know a couple?
I play a lot of the peppy young
guys.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Who would have thought? I know it's such a stretch, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But every so often, I mean, in K, I play a very young, innocent, sort of naive character, but then I also play sort of this kind of mysterious, evil character as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a deeper.
A young
placement.
Evil character?
Yeah, still young.
Okay,
Still young. There is a character, actually, I think I can now talk about this because it's airing in Malaysia, of all places, Disney, called Beat 'em On. But that's a character where, and it was the first time I worked with this particular director, and I auditioned for it. It has a bunch of also younger characters in it, but then there's this older gentleman who's kind of the patriarch of the group. And I auditioned for it thinking, they're never going to cast me as this. They're going to go with any number of these other people who, are of a more legitimate age, if I can put it that way. And I got cast to my great surprise. And so I play the Takakura. So I play this 70, 80-year-old man. So quite different from my usual, array of younger characters.
I lost out to you.
Kaiji, what about you? You got some characters you can kind of...
I get cast as assholes a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I don't understand that
I
at all.
don't
You're
either.
Such a
The
nice
better
guy.
part of the last 3
Yes.
years I spent being cast as assholes in every fucking media.
Yeah.
So for anime, a lot of younger, snarky guys, a lot of really, to my discomfort, really beautiful men. It's
Is
it's
that,
like
all right, well, it's typecasting. Typecasting.
Lifestyle
right? Yeah, there you go.
choice.
Yeah.
I walk in, I see the picture for the guy, I'm like, this is a lady. I'm pretty sure you meant to call in Laura Post. And then
No, the boobs weren't big enough.
I guess not. so, you know, a lot of down here, and it's speaking with very refined voice, and, you know, very, very mellow eyes, and just completely in control of the entire situation from, like, start to finish of the whole freaking series. And it's like, not a lot of... My characters usually range from, like stoned to, like... gets a little angry sometimes and then back to stoned.
Okay.
They love casting me as that shit.
Well, you look stoned right now.
I do, you know.
And I'm guessing you are a little.
I mean,
Yeah, okay. But again, good work if you can get it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Laura, I think you have more of a variety of ages, right? I'm guessing.
Sure, because I pretty much get cast if the character is either smart, sexy with huge boobs, or evil.
So do you have a couple of voices you could kind of
Sure. Rosalia is very, like this. She's very, oh, what did you mean to do that? Oh, you stupid girl. Whereas,
I went to high school with you.
yeah, she's younger and not very smart.
Okay. Right.
And then you've got, like, Bos, and she's very, oh, were you the sexy one? I don't think so. And she's, you know, I'm Bos, ha! You know, so she's a little older.
You forgot
and
to
more
mention
refined.
your magnum opus of a performer. You know, as a performer, you did Ellie.
Ellie is not part of an anime.
Oh, that's true. We'll talk about that later.
but
It's
Ellie-
amazing,
yeah,
though.
I mean,
She'll-
the
Ellie.
can of worms is open. What is Ellie?
Ellie is an iPad game from
It's an
Ellie
iPad
and
game?
Friends.
Oh,
Ellie and
okay.
Friends, and you can get it for free.
The best
so you
voice
can
work you've
see-
ever heard.
Do you want
The
to
most-
hear a little?
Yeah,
hear
sure.
best.
Ellie?
So what happened was there
A
were...
lot of people are cringing right now. I
Yeah.
don't know why,
Yeah.
but your friends are cringing.
This is a legend.
Oh, okay. Right.
So Ellie, pretty much this game had a ton of little boy voices and like 2 girls, but they wanted you to read everything because they wanted to double cast. So I did the girls. I thought I'd get the narrator and the young girl. And I only have so many little boy voices. So, you know, the first one was like, hi, nice to meet you, I'm a dog. And then it was like, hi, nice to meet you, I'm a bear. And then there was this elephant who's the lead. It's Ellie, the elephant. And I was like, I don't have anything for this voice. So it was like, good morning, I'm Ellie. And that, of course, they were like, you're Ellie, which is perfect. We need you to play Ellie the elephant. And so there's this game where you can grab me and it's like, I'm flying! Ooh!
That's a fine voice. That's a very nice
You can do what you think is the crappiest voice and still
Someone
do
will
the
pay you
job.
for it.
So yeah.
I think right there is an argument against directing yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
It
I'll
was-
never get this in a million years.
Yes,
I
Keith.
just had to.
On the contrary, I think I will take that voice home to bed with me this evening.
You'll enjoy it, I'm sure.
Take it easy. It ain't that kind of anime we're talking about.
Yeah, that's yaoi, yuri, and
Yeah, we've
hentai.
heard of that. too.
I do have one more ad. though.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember another show I did. It was called Digimon Data Squad, in which I played Marcus Damon, who was this fiery redhead. And the fans out there who love conspiracies said, well, you played Axel in Kingdom Hearts, red hair. Reno in Final Fantasy Children, red hair. Marcus Damon, red hair. What's going on? How are they connected?
Yeah.
Isn't Axel or Reno Axel's nobody? And Axel Reno's somebody? And then in that series you said got it memorized as Marcus Damon and that's Axel's hook. So what's going on? I said, well, A, it was an inside joke. We were trying to please you. I said, as far as the other characters go, there's nothing sexual or intimate about them.
Okay.
That's your own projection, but if you want an 8x10 of them, I'll sign it.
Well, very good. At this time, you know, if you guys have any questions, I mean, I certainly have a bunch here, but I want to, you guys came here, and I know you're not here just for the beer. Yes, Shane.
What is the big difference between animation and anime?
Pay scale.
That is certainly one. Anime is always going to be ADR with the 3 beeps and matching the mouth flaps, and American animation is almost always prelay.
Prelay.
So
And explain that
Yes.
to them in layman's terms.
right. So prelay is
They draw to you.
they have a script and you get to read it however you want, and then you get directed and you read it how the director wants, and then they animate to your performance. In anime, since it's already been animated, it's already out in Japan, they can't change anything for you. So you sometimes get the speed racer sort of thing where you've got this much mouth flap
Oh my
and
God.
this
Speed.
much
I know the
copy.
GG go. It's a very dangerous mission.
It's very dangerous, it is.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
and
You do
sometimes you
enough
don't
of
have
it.
enough copy, and sometimes you have too much copy, but you get 3 beeps, and then you have to make your line fit their mouth flaps.
And act at the same time.
Yeah.
And act at the same time and maintain your character and any voice that you may be using for said character. And yes, I mean, I think nowadays there's, especially since we're not doing reel-to-reel a la Speed Racer, dubs aren't like that anymore.
Too bad.
With the digital age, we have a lot more freedom in like getting extra takes on it, and we can sort of rewrite lines on the fly to make it work. But it's still difficult. It's much more difficult than prelay.
Sometimes there's no fixing
and
lines.
then it doesn't pay as well.
Yeah, sometimes there's just no fixing
Well, no,
lines.
sometimes there's
you have
not.
to say this much into like this much mouth flap.
Yeah.
And you do that enough, it really messes you up because you develop like anime muscle memory where you talk a certain speed, like that fast. And then you go into an audition, they're like, people don't talk that fast, stop that. You're like, oh shit, that's right.
But the upside of that, technically speaking, is because they can move things around. If you give a great performance and it's a little long, they can
Yeah.
shorten it,
Yeah.
they can tighten it,
Compress.
or they can elongate.
Yeah.
And that's nice.
You're talking technically
Technically
speaking,
speaking.
in the audio studio
In
itself.
the studio, and they'll do it right there on the fly.
Yeah.
I did
See
a
if it
session
works.
yesterday, and the producer engineer said, I don't like this line, let's change it to this. Boom, changed it, it was right in the correct context, sounded better performance, made much more sense in the storyline.
Yeah.
And it rocked.
Yes. Yeah.
I know a lot of the anime shows that come here were in other countries and stuff first.
Yes.
Sometimes. So, do they ever ask you to match performances or like listen to like, oh, this is what it sounded like before, do as best you can to match that in the English or whatever?
In my experience, oftentimes they will play the Japanese for you. But again, with director's interpretation based on the new writing that they're trying to adjust to fit the American market storyline and comprehension, they will tell you whether or not to give it as much or less.
I've found in my experience, I always aim to give, again, my own interpretation and to, again, make it sound natural in English and not to do a carbon copy of the original. Sometimes, depending on the client or, again, what the production wants, they'll say, oh, no, listen to how the Japanese actor did it. Do it more like that, and then you have to kind of, oh, okay, and do it again more in that style. But it depends, I think. Some companies and clients want it very faithful as far as tone and the exact performance and the shadings in the performance. And others will say, oh, just, make it work, again, within your own, performance style. And as long as it sounds good in English, it doesn't have to sound exactly like the original Japanese performance, which is my preference.
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you feel hearing the Japanese performance hurts you or helps you when you're figuring out what you want to deliver?
I think it helps me personally.
Does it?
Because based on the performance, I can get an idea instantly of just the overall intensity of the scene and the context, but I don't necessarily have to, again, deliver it exactly like how they did it.
Because I worked on a game recently, and they would, I can't say what it was, but they would, I didn't realize they were going to do this because I'm kind of new to this, but they would play the Japanese line in my head. And I was like, just kidding, what the fuck is that? It's like, oh, that's the original line, oh, okay. And they kept doing it because they kept saying, we needed to come in that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the script, I was seeing the timings, I'm pretty good at bringing it in on time. So I after a while, I was like, could you not play that in my head? Because all I could hear was a guy going, and I was like, I felt that it influenced my performance to kind of do those inflections, when it didn't necessarily translate that well in English. Do you guys, have you had similar experiences like that? I mean...
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've gotten to a point now, though, where I just use it as a point of reference in terms of timing.
Yeah.
And I'll look on the script where it may say there's a beat or a break, and I'll be listening, and I'll say, you know what, they went over on that. So do you want me to honor that beat, break, or continue through? You know, it's a collaborative process between you and the director. And she tells you, or he tells you, and you go, and it gets pretty easy. In the beginning, sure, it kind of messes with your head, but after a while, it's like anything else.
Yeah.
When you're auditioning for stuff, though, is it helpful to? I mean, it's usually helpful to go and like, oh, what's the reference of the character or the script or something?
At auditions, they rarely give you a reference. They just
do it.
want to hear what you sound like.
So they don't even show you a picture of the
picture you get. You get, but not original Japanese.
But if you can track down the original Japanese, do they sometimes try to at least like get the same, not necessarily tonalities in the line itself, but same character?
Well,
No.
No.
Not at all.
I
Not
never
at all.
played
No.
reference.
What they do is just like any animation audition and television audition, you show up, they give you the breakdown, and you give them what they ask for. They do not.
So you have the character description, when you say the
Right.
breakdown, you have the character description and a picture of the character itself, okay? You know, something to the effect of this,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
Sometimes with a larger picture, but that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Photo, bio, and copy.
Okay, so the
Chills you out.
description of the character itself is important to you guys, or is the picture more important to you guys?
Both.
Laura, what would you say?
I think both are incredibly useful. If I have to pick one over the other, I'll probably pick the description.
Yeah?
Yeah, just because I think it's more important to know those sorts of things about the character than necessarily the picture, but it's really, really good if you can have both.
Yeah, me too. I would definitely prefer the description because I can always ask the director, so what does he look like?
Yeah.
You know, so if I really need to know, it's like, what does he look like? But yeah, the description usually covers like personality. Description usually covers the looks, like they tell you what he looks like in the description. So.
Yeah.
I've never done an anime audition where they don't have a picture.
Well, yeah, me neither, but I'm
Agreed.
saying if you had to pick one.
If you had to pick one or the other, what do you feel helped you the most? I personally like looking at the picture.
Yeah.
I like to look at the picture and just kind of, see, kind of feel
Exactly,
like
you get a
what
sort
it
of
might
personality. I mean,
sound
if a script comes in and there's a picture of, again, I play a lot of young guys, and so if a typical kind of young anime character is the picture, I go, oh, I know this. And also I should add, because I actually watched a lot of anime to begin with, even before I started voicing for it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the archetypes I'm very familiar with, and the style.
So you've actually kind of studied anime and prepared as an actor.
Yeah, unintentionally. But
So then let me add that, what I just said, people who do anime, and me, I don't do it, so you probably want to listen to these guys. Yeah. Rob, what do you just basically, you're the surfer guy. You don't give a shit about the picture, you don't care about the description.
Listen,
it's just gonna be this guy.
It's funny you say that, because as I was listening to everybody, I was in my head going, I'm not a very good actor. and what I guess what I mean by that is, I usually just go by the description myself. I just go by the description, and it's sort of like, all right, this is high energy me, this is low energy me, this is irritated me, this is whatever. I mean, ultimately, every character I play is me.
But do you ever feel that you manipulate your voice to create something other than
I do that with Stuffy. I actually don't do a lot of that.
What is Stuffy sound?
Stuffy's kind of up here. He's a cross between like a 10-year-old boy and a dog.
No, that sounds like you still. I'm sorry, there's no difference.
That's what I say when I'm not a very good actor, I told you.
That's because he had a dog at 10 years of age.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, very rarely do I go that far outside of what I ordinarily sound like for some. I mean, that's just not what I get hired for.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, I guess if you're looking for me, you'll get me.
Right.
And I have this thing about I screwed this up when we did that big panel at that hotel. I said that casting directors don't want to think.
Right.
Here's what I mean by that. If you give them something, if you are lucky enough to get a job and you give them something,
Tell the kids.
they will now think of you that way. And so every time a character like that comes up, they will go, oh, let's get that person. Where they won't go, man, this person can do anything. They rarely, they want to, it's sort of like when the client comes in, I think, and says, we need this amount of people. I think rarely do casting directors go, well, this is a well-rounded individual and this should challenge their talent, you know. I think they just go, oh, he was the 10-year-old dog, let's use him for that. And you're gonna run into that, I think, time and time again. I suggest always for people is to find what your little niche is and mine the living crap out of it. And just, you know, get sent out on that, and eventually, you know, eventually someone will give you a chance to do other things. But I think largely you're going to get hired to be yourself. Tom Cruise gets hired to be himself.
Yes.
Oh, I was going to ask actually, in constructing an anime or animation demo, did you each of you try to go more for range, or did you try to really try to home in on?
I say figure out what it is that you do with a couple of other choices. You know, show them that you can do other things. But largely, whatever Bill, when he teaches, he uses this bread and butter reference a lot. You know, when you really figure out what it is that you do, he'll be like, that's what they're going to hire you for. And you could be the most versatile actor in the world. It takes a while to get to the point where they'll just call you in on anything. You know, and I think there's very few guys who are called in to, I mean, you know, Rob Paulson does characters, but they all seem, you know,
Like Rob Paulson.
they all seem tied into what Rob Paulson does. He never gets too far outside of what his what his, you know, sort of voice range is. Right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike myself.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Q, you tend to manipulate your voice.
Yeah, but you were the young guy forever.
Yeah.
You were the young cocky guy.
That's true.
Forever.
That's true, and I still am.
Yeah. Well, you're cocky.
That's why I love you. You know,
I mean, you do kind of manipulate your voice a lot, and you do tons of characters.
tons of characters, dialects, impressions.
Right.
But Robbie has something, even though he was self-deprecating in his humor, saying I'm a terrible actor, the fact is Robbie's one of the most gifted actors that I know in show business. And anybody does. He's a real natural.
I mean, I'll agree with that, and you know, aside from making this the Johnny Carson show, it's like, this man gives half of his money to charity.
Yeah.
No, but I agree, Robbie.
I think what I mean by not being a good actor is I'm not really trained. I learned kind of as I went along.
No, you did learn. You were trained. You were how old when you got started?
Yeah,
How old?
6.
Right.
What is this, court?
So you did get.
Answer the question!
How old were you? Where were you the night of when you were on Chips with Eric Estrada? What did you?
The bottom line is you can't take a compliment, so shut the fuck up.
And get to your
Get back
little
to my
point of
thing.
manipulating your voice.
Yeah, so the truth of the matter is, I grew up doing impressions of impressionists' impressions of cartoons, impressions of family, impressions of friends, and as I grew in the arts, by the time I got into the voiceover world, I thought, this is it. I get to do everything. That's what they want. The first thing I did, they wanted me to do was a commercial demo, just like Robbie said, to have a point of view with your voice. So I had to find my voice. I had to find out who Quinton Flynn was, and that was frustrating. So I did that.
About 5 years of therapy too.
Easily. Yeah. Unbelievable. But it was worth it.
Yeah.
And then I got the agent, and then they knew I had this range, so they started auditioning me on all kinds of animation copy. And I started booking young superheroes, or in the case of the Lion King spin-off, they needed someone to be able to replace Nathan Lane as Timon. And because I'm an impressionist and know how to do characters, I was able to nail that part.
Right.
And get that. So
But you feel, and again, I like to make this point to, you know, the young voiceover actors out there. It's one thing to do voices, and it's great. It's great if you have that talent. But Q, if you would back me up on this, you got to have the acting chops behind that voice.
Yes.
In order to make those voices believable. And I would think with the anime thing that everybody on the panel would agree that you have these characters that need these voices, but if the acting's not there, it's just not going to be quite as good, and you're not going to be quite as successful.
I say all the time that voiceover acting is the hardest of all of the ways to do it, because it's really hard to convince people of something without using your face or your hands. Most of our discourse on a daily basis is our body language, and so if you can put a really vivid image in your mind, and go by that. The acting chops, like Bill said, you actually have to be in a way a better actor than, say, a cute person who managed to get on a TV show because they're cute. You can get away with that on camera, but in voiceover you're doomed if you don't have the acting stuff to back it up.
Then what's your vision?
My vision?
Yeah, when you
it's
focus.
very bad. Have you seen it?
Let me take the, yes, Teresa, you have a question.
I was wondering, are anime sessions always just like private, or are they like group?
They're
Private.
They're always private, and actually, to piggyback on the last thing we were talking about with the acting, in anime, the acting really needs to be solid because you have so many distractions and hurdles coming at you in that session. First, you don't have anyone to work off of because since you're doing ADR, you're always all by yourself. Second, you have the Japanese playing, which, so first they're going to show you the Japanese, you're going to hear all the Japanese actors. Then sometimes, if you are recording later, when they are getting you ready to beep in, you'll hear the other actors who have already recorded, which is nice and sometimes incredibly distracting. And then you have to keep in mind how fast you need to go. If there's a hitch in the middle of the line, you have to stop the same time the character stops so that you can continue through the line.
And you have to act at the same time.
And then you have to act and be good at it. So it's really important that you're not even thinking of, you're just doing the acting because you've been doing it that long and you've been practicing and working at it, so that you can have background tasks in your brain thinking about timing and all of that other stuff and tuning out the Japanese.
It actually is. Anime's really tricky, actually. I could see it taking somebody a little while to just sort of get their sea legs for it, because like you said, it's nothing but distractions.
Yeah.
And then you said Bang Zoom gives classes in it?
Yes.
And then the other ones were Storyopolis. Studiopolis.
They don't offer classes though. And New Generation. I don't know if it's New Gen. I know for sure it's New Generation.
I think New Gen's just the
New Gen.
Yeah.
And then one last question is regarding your bread and butter boys, but nonetheless, in anime, are there certain iconic characters that seem to come up more often?
Yes. There's definite
Young male
anime
hero
character
voice.
archetypes.
Young male
There's
hero.
So it's kind of like the old Commedia dell'arte,
Yeah.
that you have these particular characters that show up in every play,
Absolutely.
kind of thing.
Right.
It's the same thing with anime in that
Yes.
regard?
Yeah.
Which is why, going way back to when we were talking about your voice and what you do best,
Yeah.
it helps extra in anime because the casting process goes really fast in anime.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they're not even holding auditions. They're going, who's really good at evil chicks with big boobs? Laura. Hey, did you want to come in and play this evil chick with big boobs? Sure. And you don't even know. Sometimes they'll just say, do you want to come in and play a character? And you don't even know what you're doing until you show up there and you see the picture on the screen and the script.
And you start reading 3 seconds later. Yeah. There we go.
So
So the
there's a lot
iconic
of...
characters would be evil chicks with big
Yes,
boobs.
evil chicks with
That's
big
fine.
boobs, definitely. And they go,
Like-
they're
Laura has found the archetype she's good at. She has it in her pocket.
Well, and also your voice type, Therese. I mean,
Yeah.
because you have a distinct sound, just like Robbie. It's very unique, and you're able to lay that down. And what my experience tells me is, if they like you and you're right for the role, they will work with you. I'm not dissuading anyone from taking classes. If there are anime classes available, I would encourage it. So that boom, you're sharp,
It just helps
you're ready
with
to
those
go.
And also you meet the people.
Well, you're meeting the people, and
Yeah.
also you're kind of, within the classroom situation, you can develop whatever characters you feel you have with somebody kind of
Right.
guiding you through the process.
Also,
Yes.
I've taken some classes with Crispin Freeman.
Crispin
Crispin Freeman?
I learned to match lip dub with him, which
Oh, there
was
you go.
amazing. So yeah, he's a really great teacher.
He's quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my plug for him.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
really
Freeman.
cool.
Yes.
We've worked together on Final Fantasy Advent Children,
Yeah.
and he played Rude to my Reno. And,
And then you were both in Metal Gear Rising.
That's
I'm
right.
in the middle of playing that right
That's
now.
right.
So,
And
yeah.
I was the hero, and he's the villain.
Yep.
And he's quite good.
Oh yeah.
So adding to what Teresa was talking about, how do you get access to these auditions if, say, you don't have an agent that can get you into it? Are there avenues that you can go down? Q, yeah?
Yes. When I've gone to a number of these casting houses, which we've already just spoken about, I have met some actors and actresses there who have told me they're not represented. But what they have done is they have presented their demo to those in charge. Those folks like them, taken down their information, and then contacted them when there are open auditions. So That's your answer. And again, if I were in your shoes, I would definitely take an anime class, so I'd have the skills, the chops, prepped and ready to go. So when I get to go in, whether I have an agent or not, then they can hire me, and I won't go in terrified on that first day of work. I will have had some experience.
Lucien, you had something to say about that too?
I mean, before I even moved to Los Angeles, I did a lot of research on the studios that did anime, so I knew their names. And
now, did you just go online and find that
Yeah,
information?
most of them, yeah. You can just
Okay.
Google.
So you kids out
Google
there,
is your friend.
go online, Google these people.
And for the people who are watching online, you know, most of the other places that do anime, they have like contact things on their websites. Like I know Funimation does. For
Yeah,
a
that's
fact,
in Dallas.
It's in, but for the internet people who
Yes.
may be in
Yeah, that's
Texas
what
or
you're saying,
Dallas.
Dallas.
No, I'm encouraging you, if you
Yes,
are
yes.
in the Dallas area,
Yeah, so
that
I
is
mean-
the home of anime.
Right, and you just go online and they have FAQs on all of that stuff for submitting. Continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, like in my position, I've cheated every time I've gotten into a new studio. I've always had a friend walk my demo in. So if you're in that position where you have a friend already who works at that studio and you're pretty positive you're not going to embarrass them by sucking, once you get the audition, then that's my cheaty way method.
Come on,
of doing
Kaiji,
it.
you're always an embarrassment.
I know, you know, that's why I don't work at that many studios. But yeah, that's another way of getting in.
Well, how I got in with Bang Zoom actually was I had a friend, a colleague, who had heard from that studio that they needed some extra people for a Walla group, you know, just to do the background voices for this project they were doing. And she gave them my name along with a few others and did a couple of days' work, and my name got passed to the head offices, and they called me in for a general audition, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So, I mean, just to let people know what you do, so that if, again, an opportunity like that comes up, they'll know, oh yeah, you know, I know someone who does this.
So there is Walla in anime?
Yes.
Oh, there is.
Yes. And general auditions are great, although I prefer lieutenant or private auditions.
Commander auditions.
But
Privates are my
with Studiopolis, though, I did need my agent. But that was also completely, like, that had started out as just inquiring if, you know, do you work with the studio, and, you know,
Right.
and that ended up with them saying, oh, we can send, you know, we know Jamie Simone, we can send them your
Well,
stuff.
so that begs to ask the question for the folks out there. If you don't have an agent, what do you think is the best way to get an agent? How do you think you can go about that? Anybody have?
Well, yeah, you have to have a competitive demo. And, you know, I actually posted this today, and this is a fact. I did a straight commercial demo and a character commercial demo with a gentleman named Bill Holmes of Compost Productions. And that demo not only helped in transitioning and getting a new agent, but there was an audition for a Best Buy campaign that I was not available for, and they submitted the demo that Bill and I had worked on and he produced, and I was on hold for that job because of that well-crafted demo. And what it means is you have to have a competitive demo where you're showing your range, you're directed by a professional, and it sounds, you know, like it's something on the air.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing in voiceover in general. I think it's definitely one of the areas where you don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
That's right.
Your thing comes out and it's not happening, for some reason, that they'll remember. You know, they'll be like, oh, it's like, we don't know what we like, but we know we don't like that person. So, so a competitive demo is of paramount importance.
And I started out like anybody else. I did my homemade demos, you know, and I thought they were great. And then I started taking classes, and it was obvious to me that, oh, there's things I don't know. Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to do some more training. Oh, I'm gonna have to work with a professional director who may have produced things, you know, like Bill. who's
Well,
an
but I mean,
actor,
because
you
you're
know.
going to be working with professional directors in the field.
We have to be on the same level.
So let me, I mean, I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you guys feel that if you just went out and made an anime demo just to get into anime, that would be beneficial, or should
No.
you take a different route?
Really
Make a strong like animation demo.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
show that, because it shows that you can do character acting, but you don't need to make one specifically for anime.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just an animation demo?
I think.
I-
that
Yeah,
would be
because
great.
anime is
It's
basically
niche
like
within a niche.
animation.
Right.
Still
Yeah.
using them.
I've even been cast in anime based off my commercial demo. Like
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes they just want your voice, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I mean, we were talking about, you know, the acting versus the voice, or, you know, the acting is much more important than the voice, and especially in anime, a lot of, you know, it's a much more, the style of anime is a lot more cinematic. It's
Okay.
not quite, I mean, there's some silly stuff naturally in it,
Yeah.
but not to the extent, you don't quite see, you know, the kind of zany antics of like a SpongeBob SquarePants,
Right.
something really out there. A lot of it,
It's not
much more
cartoony. It's not
right,
cartoony.
whatever that
Right.
means.
Right.
Um,
Well, I mean, you know,
Ellie!
bad examples.
elephant that I'm playing on.
But a lot more of the performances in anime are more naturalistic. I guess would be the term.
Okay.
And you will often in anime get cast because of, you know, this voice right here.
Right. The Anime Expo here is sponsored by Fortaleza. Fortaleza Tequila, the best goddamn tequila I've ever had, and also by Old Style Beer. It's fully Croizon and the beer of Stump the Band. Stump the Band.
Did we ever figure out what croisoning is?
Oh no, we don't know what it is, but in Wisconsin, it's important. So I just thought it would be kind of fun to go down the line here. These guys have had a chance to look over the descriptions, right, Rob? And- yeah, you should produce a movie with them. It's that same thing.
Like he needs it, it's gonna sound the same.
So I mean, who feels the most prepared for the character? Because again, we're going to do this on singles because there's no interaction here. This is what you ready to go?
Two. That is what we should be discussing and not judging. I will present a case to you that will prove that my client was guilty. The only thing he was guilty of was his true nature. You will then throw away your previous notions and examine the evidence clearly.
Oh, we need to talk about this, Ernest. You can't eat me. Bears only eat mice in fairy tales. Don't tell me you still believe in fairy tales, Ernest. Oh, come on, use your head. Do you really think a little mouse like me will fill you up? Look at me, Ernest. I'm nothing but skin and bone.
Come with me. You see, Celestine, you and I are rodents. We are no bears. Our strength lies not in our body mass, our muscles, our claws, not our terrifying jaws. No! We are far more delicate creatures.
Like that thing over there? Yeah, I got it. Hold on. Get out of the way. There, it's open. Why? You wanted it open. Come on. Come on, I'm so tired of this. I'm tired. All right, this is the last thing. Then we're even, okay?
Ridiculous. If it's only a fairy, then it can't be real. Well, what kind of coin? 2! Get it, Daddy! Get it!
So listen, that was fun. I got a kick out of that. Do we have any last questions about the business of the business or the approach to characters? Yes.
Well,
Cody.
it's anybody who's watched anime knows that it's a very stylized kind of acting. Does it require any special space to get into? I mean, you were describing your melon song earlier, and I really wanted to inquire. What's your process to get into that? Is that a mood that you express every day? Do you sing?
Depending on my medication. Well, the thing I go back to is what Robbie and I've talked about before. It's like when we were kids, you know, you played, you know, you picked roles, whether it was cowboy and Indians, cops and robbers, doctor and nurse. I didn't get to play that. But you just play the role. You just go, like, you're a good guy, you're a bad guy, let's go. I'm Tarzan, you're Jane, let's go. I'm Spider-Man, you're, I don't know, Daredevil, let's go. So there wasn't any thinking, there wasn't any process, there's just a joy, just an expression. And that's the same thing I found with this character, Victorine. You know, they said they wanted him big, they wanted him playful, and when I read the copy, it just lent itself to that. I do have, improvisational, sketch comedy background and stand-up, so that helps. But the freer you can allow yourself to be, the bigger you can be. When it calls for that, then you go for it, and they can always pull you back. Hopefully that answers that.
Well, yeah. What I would say in regard to anime is, it is very stylized, but I think the stylization is more in the writing and the art than it necessarily is in the acting. And if you go in there trying to be like, okay, I'm gonna do an anime hero,
Right.
you're totally gonna blow it, because you're gonna be like, it's just, you need to focus on just being real, because I think more of the shows are real than they are like Pokemon
Right.
or Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's very like heightened and exaggerated and cartoony.
And even in those shows, you still have to be like
And they're still
real
pretty
within the realm
real,
of the
yeah.
story.
So the voiceover is more the
It's-
one thing that really anchors it.
Yeah, I
Relatable.
personally would say, as a fan and as a working person.
I mean, with all of this information, again, we have here the picture and the description. What this is doing for us is, again, giving us a three-dimensional picture of that character in our imagination. And in the same way, when you're reading a novel or, reading a comic book, you have this idea in your imagination of how, they sound based on, again, all of these clues, the picture and the way it's written. So it's really the same, I'd say, for anime.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
As a non-union actor, I was wondering, are you all union, and how did you become union? Is it worth it? That.
Sounds like a loaded
Well, the
question.
answer to that is really simple. There's a contradiction there. To do a union project, you have to be a member of the union. To get in the union, you have to have done a union project.
Yeah,
So they have
catch
what's
22.
installed is a Taft-Hartley agreement. And should you get cast in a role, what they do is they report to the union that this is the only actor or actress who we can cast in this role, and they make it the opportunity available to you to then be a member of that cast.
Does that happen very often?
Well, that's how it happened for me.
Really? Okay.
I
that
mean,
was my main
yeah, I came in with a demo, I got an agent, I just started auditioning, and it wasn't until I booked my first gig and they're like, you're the voice of Johnny Quest. Then they Taft-Hartley'd me because I got in, and then I started paying.
Q, didn't you have a manager though in the beginning, or
That
was that after you got the agent?
That was after I got the
That
agent.
was after you got the
Yeah,
agent.
and that was for promos and narration.
Okay.
Yeah, so, sure. I mean, and there's lots of non-union work out there, so obviously you can submit yourself for that. There are casting places online they cast for non-union as well.
Is there more non-union work in anime as opposed to union work in anime?
I feel like that.
Absolutely.
Is it-
Especially if you look at it like worldwide.
So
'cause
what
all
would
the
you
stuff
say?
in Texas
What would you guys say is the ratio of non-union to union?
is 90-10.
Yeah, 90-10.
Yeah,
I'd
because
say-
I know this. I mean, this thing that we just read today. This is a union project.
I'd say 70-30.
Yes, because I
Yeah.
am in the union. So, okay, interesting. Did that?
Yeah, absolutely.
A follow-up or
Yeah,
anything?
I just wanted some personal stories because I've heard so much about it.
Sure. Well, you know what they didn't touch upon is it worth it to be in the union or not, or should if you're just
I think it's worth it.
Well, let me ask you this: if you're just starting out though, does it make sense to jump into the union unless you have an agent and so on and so forth?
Well, the only way to jump into the union, like you can buy into AFTRA, unless that has changed.
Not
That's
anymore.
changed.
Where it's
Okay,
reversed.
well then to answer your question, no.
What I would say in regards to whether it's worth it to join the union is try joining the union. I don't know anyone in my generation. I know lots of people who were doing this longer time ago that would get Taft-Hartley'd, and that was just what you did. I haven't met a single person in my age group that's been Taft-Hartley'd. I had to join through sister union. I joined AFTRA, then I worked an AFTRA job, then I got to join SAG. I know some people who work AGVA, which is the
Yeah.
theme park union.
It's a pretty
and
easy way to
same-
get in and
yeah,
actually become
AGVA's a
SAG
good way.
eligible.
And then you can always do the background work voucher way.
Yeah.
And if you don't know
which
what
is the
AGVA
other-
is,
Yeah. What's the
AGVA thing is like, let's
Theme
say,
parks.
yeah, Universal
Yeah.
Studios. Universal
Yeah.
Studios, like they just had auditions for Halloween Horror Nights, right? You audition for that, you join AGVA, you become a good standing member.
You pay your dues for a year, even if you're not working the job
you become
anymore.
SAG eligible.
Okay.
like that.
I didn't know about that.
It's
Yeah, I
it's
know.
great.
In the anime industry, do you ever find there's any sort of hostility or anything between, say, competing companies, or like for example, if there's, I know a lot of times a girl will play a young boy voice, or is there anything like for, like he was doing, a guy playing a woman's voice, or any sort of switches like that?
Yeah, it is interesting that among voiceover people, there's not a lot of competitive spirit in it. Where, where on camera, I seem to see it a fair amount, and I think it's because, again, it's invasion of the cute people. You know, they're I mean, really. I think everybody is a performer for very insecure reasons.
What do you mean by that?
Shut up, Robbie!
Yeah.
Shut up!
I think most performers are more comfortable with "I love you, ladies and gentlemen" than "I love you," and I think that really gets exacerbated when you put people on camera, because it becomes about like, oh my God, people are looking at me, people are looking at me, people are looking at me. In voiceover, I'll go out on a limb here and say, from a fashion standpoint, I'm not really at the cutting edge. And I've gone into gigs, shorts and a half shirt, just like, it was what I wore to bed. I'm like, oh crap, I gotta get there. You can't do that in an on-camera audition.
Again, a vision I'm taking home to bed.
Well, from my own personal experience, I grew up as a kid. I grew up in the rodeo community, okay? And rodeo cowboys, in my opinion, are the most generous people in the world. Because I used to work in the chutes and stock pens back in the day when I was a kid, and I would hear these guys telling each other how this bull is going to twist and how he's going to turn, and they were literally trying to help each other stay alive, okay, if you know anything about rodeo. And I know it's kind of stupid to equate it to the voiceover community, but it's very much the same in this community. The thing is, what you do and what you do, and all the men in here, Q and Robbie and I have been competing, technically, for the last 25 years that I've been out here in Los Angeles. But not a day goes by that if something comes across my desk, I won't call one of those guys and go, oh, hey, did you get such and such? Yeah, you should get your ass over there, because they're doing that. And when I worked at casting houses up, I would call these guys in for things that I was auditioning for. Because here's the thing. They do something that I don't do. I do stuff that they don't do. And that's what the acting business is about. In the world of casting, what a lot of actors don't understand is they want you, like when I'm running a casting session, I want you to succeed. I want you to come in and do what you do and get the job. I'm not trying to fool you. I'm not trying to trick you. I want you to come in and do it. Because what do I want to do? I want to go to lunch. For the most part, look at what the hell I'm into. Okay? I just want to have a good time. Okay? So again, it's not, when you go into a casting job, and for all those new kids out there who are just starting out, when you go in, don't be frightened. Go in and do what you do, have a good time, and go to lunch and have a good day. Because as Robbie says, I'll quote Robbie Rist now. Robbie always says something that I always share with my students. You got to act today. You got to go and do what you do. And it wasn't that fucking cool? You got to do it, and nobody else gets to do it. And the other thing is, nobody did what you do. So whether you get it or not, doesn't really matter. You did what you did. I mean, you saw the diverse choices these guys made. And I brought people in from the audience, and I just threw scripts at them, and you saw the choices they made. Hey man, somebody else is going to come in and do those characters totally differently. But until somebody does what the creator has in his head, they're not going to get the job. It doesn't really matter. Because if you don't do what the guy has in his head, or if you don't sound like what the guy has in his head, you're not going to get the job, no matter how good you are.
And you have no way of knowing.
Exactly, you have no way of knowing. So there's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. There's a way you do it, and therefore there's no competition amongst us. So I used to work at a place called the Voicecaster, okay? And the Voicecaster is one of the biggest casting houses in the country. And for about 10 years, I was just a freelance director there. And the coolest thing about working at the Voicecaster was, and again, I was getting minimum wage, guys. Don't get me wrong. It was not the cream of the crop job. Every day, all my friends came in, and we just fucked around. Every day, I would get to see him, and now these new kids, they come into my facility here, and we just get to play all day long. And why wouldn't you do that for a living, you know? So, this, you kids out there, this is why you should do it. Look at how cool these people are, man. Look at how cool these people are. And all these people in the audience, you guys have this thing that you love to do and that you're fascinated with and you want to get into it. Hey, man, keep doing it and have a good time doing it, because the odds of you making money doing it are slim. You know? Okay? Even when we're doing anime, it ain't a hell of a lot of money.
Especially when it's anime.
Exactly. But that's why you do it, because you love to do it. And that's why you should be an actor, and that's why you should get into this really stupid business. Okay? Again, I've been doing this 30 years. Robbie Rist has been doing this more than 40 years. Look at what it's done to him, people. For God's sakes.
That's right. Donate today.
He's only 28 years old. I want to thank you all for coming. Let's give our panel a huge round of applause. Mr. Quinton Flynn, Robbie Rist, Lucien Dodge, Kaiji Tang of Kaiji Master, and Laura Post, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for tuning in. Good night, America. For God's sakes, buy more booze.
You know him, you love him, you want some more of him. The voiceover doctor, a real smooth talker, the voiceover doctor show.